Huh, I learned something. How dare you? Luke Skywalker is a Gary Stu. He is in one of the movies. I will grant you that. There is a power jump between 2 and 3. Like, technically, by definition, he's not. Because his powering upness with no explanation happens between movies. So I think there's a different term for that. It's like he's in the genre of Mary Sue-ness, but he's not the Mary Sue. There's a different term if it happens between books or movies. That is what Luke Skywalker did for the third movie. But in the first one, at the beginning, he sucks as being a Jedi. You put the helmet on his head, he gets shot in the arm. He can't do the Force easily. By the end of it, he can kind of a bit do the Force. That is character growth. In the new Star Wars movies, it's like, oh, Jedi kind of maybe exist. Oh, okay, I'm gonna take on trained lightsaber wielders as soon as I get my hands on a lightsaber. No, that doesn't work. In terms of actual physics, I'm assuming everyone here understands the concept that just because you're trained in a great sword, a two-handed sword, a claymore, which I think is an Irish or Scottish great sword, if you're trained in a two-handed sword, you are not automatically capable of handling a fencing rapier. You are not capable of handling a rapier. They are different fighting styles. You need to understand the weapon you're working with. You cannot just grab one and be God with it. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. This is more so with lightsabers. There's two interpretations of a lightsaber. Both are kind of right. It just depends whether or not you apply the second one. One, the blade has no weight. You're literally just moving a handle. That's why they're supposed to be able to pull off really good reflexes regardless of strength. That's why Yoda is supposed to be able to do things, because a lightsaber doesn't require strength. There's nothing at the end of it. Most of the training with a lightsaber so you don't cut yourself. It's a plasma blade. However, there is a second issue with them, is they always 24/7 pull in one direction when active because of the magnetic field and containing the plasma gas. I'm not going into the science behind it. The point is, you can use a pike. I think the explanation is, oh, well, she had a pike on the desert planet. She had a saber-like weapon. It's the same thing. It's not at all. It's not. Now, a lot of these could have been fixed with just a few things, like if she cut herself accidentally and then afterwards she quickly learned from it, like she didn't make that mistake again. Like weird little things could have gotten rid of all the arguments, and you could be like, oh, well, she was a chosen one or something like that, so the Force helped her learn quickly. But she's 100% proficient with whatever she touches from the beginning. That's why she's a Mary Sue. It would have been really easy to avoid the rude description, but they didn't do any of it, so it doesn't apply. It just doesn't. But that's neither here nor there. That is what a Mary Sue is. There is a Mary Sue in the next movie. This is known. It is known that she is a Mary Sue, and it is joked about that she is in fact a Mary Sue. Why did I dig out underneath the wall? I didn't. Why did I don't know what I did earlier. Oh, I did. I dug out below this lip. Once that's been dug out, I'm good, and it looks like it was, so I'm fine. No. The first movie blows up the Death Star because he's got magical powers. So here's the thing. That is a moment that was set up the whole movie. That is not a Mary Sue. That is not a Mary Sue because of the scene I mentioned earlier where he got hit. That is a character arc. Yes, it's rushed, don't get me wrong. It doesn't take much to avoid being called a Mary Sue. You could say lazy writing, yes. But Mary Sue is like the abject absence of improvement. At the beginning, he couldn't hit the laser blast with the face shield down. The face shield's the targeting computer. Without a targeting computer, it's like you're blind. He hears in his ear, trust the Force, Luke, trust the Force. You could say it's lazy writing. That'd be an argument for a different time, like how much people do or do not like Star Wars or want to defend it. But because there is a moment earlier in the movie doing the exact same thing, and he was kind of not the best at it, and that he was really good at it at the end, or he sunk the one shot he needed to do. Couple that with the, I can sink a rat at 2 meters or whatever the hell he says. That means it's not a Gary Stu moment. It's not a Mary Sue moment because they do address it. It's a character arc. He sucked at it, then he was good at it. Did he do it fast? You could say this. He didn't have enough training to sink that ridiculous shot, but they addressed that at some point. He was bad at that particular action. It wasn't something he just pulled out of his ass. The new Star Wars, her being able to heal randomly is something pulled out of the ass. Straight out of the ass. Oh, what do we need to have happen here? We need this worm to get healed. Okay, she heals the worm. But no one can do that. But she can. What? Why? Doesn't matter. Also, it's really weird as a side thing that she is essentially what's his name? Ray, and that's her name. Her name is Ray. Daisy Ridley is the actress. The character's name is Ray. Ray and Ben Solo are kind of cousins. Are they cousins, or are they cousins once removed? Either way, they're family, and they tried doing a love interest between them two, which is just kind of weird. Which is just really, really kind of weird that they're related. And they admittedly did the same thing in Star Wars. Not saying it's new. I'm just saying, why is it such a weird thing in the Skywalker family for cousins and or siblings to just, you know, want to bang? It's kind of weird. I don't know what's up with Force-sensitive families just wanting to do it with each other, but they should probably stop doing it. Yeah. Claymore just means sword. Yep. Actually, many things apply, like footwork, distancing, tempo. Yeah, for swords. I was glossing over it, but I mean, I think the point is made. Just because she has a weapon on the desert does not mean she can use a lightsaber. These are that, like, you can't just show a picture of her holding a weapon and be like, this means she can use lightsabers. That's not at all how anything works. Banging your cousins is a time-honored noble tradition. Because if you think about it, right, where did the Skywalkers come from? Here's the thing that baffled me. She didn't even change her name. Realistically, she did not change her name. Supposedly, where did Skywalkers come from? Like, where is the Skywalker family from? You can say the name is from the actual physical female on the desert planet, that's fine. But Anakin was made by the Emperor using Force power, right? So Anakin, son, in a manner of speaking, of Emperor. Emperor has regular son. That's what we learned in the third movie. He has regular son, the Emperor does. Anakin has Luke and Leia. Son has grandson. Or son has daughter, who is Rey. Leia has son. That means Ben Solo is banging or wanting to bang his aunt once removed? It's why? And at the end of it, she's like, oh, I'm a Skywalker. And it's supposed to be like, oh, you can choose your own destiny. Except for the Skywalker name was also made by the Emperor and made Darth Vader. It's the same name. Palpatine and Skywalker, basically the same name. Basically the same damn name. It just is. Like, oh, you can make your own destiny. So I'm gonna pick the other name that was also made by my grandfather. Somehow this means something. That's nothing to do with her being a Mary Sue or anything like that. I just thought that was a weird thing because it doesn't say anything. It's like an empty statement. I'm a Skywalker. Okay. As opposed to what? Over half of your family is fucking evil. Why is this what you switched to? I don't want to be known as Palpatine. I want to be known as Skywalker. You don't want to be known as the Emperor. You want to be known as the family that works for the Emperor. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. Good job. You showed everyone. You're not related to the Emperor. You're just his foot lackey. This is long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. It was still medieval times, still totally acceptable and encouraged. Haven't seen episode 9. The Habsburg family tree is a wreath. You're not missing much. No, you're kind of not. So here's the thing. People who watched episode 9 haven't seen the Star Wars. They have, since releasing the movie, retconned it in tweets and things like that. Like they're pulling a Rowling? Harry Potter? They keep retconning it. Like I should probably like retweet some of these retcons. They just keep retconning everything about the movie. Episode 7, episode 9, retcons episodes 4, 5, and 6, 1, 2, and 3, and 7 and 8. Episode 9 doesn't fit in with any of the rest of Star Wars at all. And then even since then, episode 9 made no sense. So the directors and stuff keep releasing more information where they retcon Star Wars episode 9. So even if you've seen episode 9, you haven't seen episode 9. It's really weird. And not appeasing any of them. Yeah, no, it argues with itself. And if 8 just destroyed their entire idea of physics, then 9 just takes the destroyed remnants of how physics works in that entire universe and just pisses on it and then pours it in gasoline, but doesn't set it on fire to subvert expectations, of course. Because, by the way, that's the reasoning behind movies nowadays. If shit is garbage, it's because, oh, I wanted to subvert expectations. Good. Thank you for subverting expectations. I could not wait for you to subvert expectations. The physics in Star Wars Episode 8 and Star Wars Episode 9 are garbage. They're just garbage. And they don't make any sense. They don't make any sense in our realm of physics. They don't make any sense in Star Wars' realm of physics, and they don't make sense in Star Trek's realm of physics. Now, you may say to yourself, why the hell would I compare Star Wars physics to Star Trek physics? That's because Star Wars Episode 8 only works, or Star Wars Episode 8 only works in Star Trek. There's too many stars in those words. Star Wars Episode 8 can only exist in Star Trek. It's the only way it works. So you can't even use the line of physics derived from Star Trek to explain Star Wars Episode 9. And that is a legit complaint because none of it makes any sense. Hold on, let me set up more to get channeled. Emperor Palpwalker did one thing. Well, if I had to pay to see it, I'd demanded a refund. Are you saying 5 out of 9 movies are garbage? Maybe. I don't know what the number 5 is coming from, but sure. Because here's the thing, 1 through 3 were kind of also bad. Or is that where we're getting the 5? We're saying like 2 and 3 were bad, 1 was fine. So 4, 5, and 6 were good, and episode 1 was good. Is that what we're saying? Because the introductory trilogy, we'll say, episodes 1, 2, and 3, screwed up the lore like way too much. It made none of it make sense. And now episodes 7, 8, and 9 have screwed up physics. Which is a thing I wouldn't think could be screwed up, but it can. Not counting the Christmas special. I'm assuming you're mentioning the light speed ramming technique. Yes, light speed ramming technique only works in Star Trek. And it very specifically only works so much in Star Trek because they had to come up with a reason for how physics worked in episode 7. When you saw the 5 beams going across space, they had to come up with a way for that to make sense. And they had to, after the movie, retcon in a method of planetary destruction that fit with Star Wars physics, and they did it. I accept their definition for how that attack worked in episode 7. But at that point, they were making it fit Star Wars physics. And in episode 8 doesn't work in Star Wars physics. It works in Star Trek physics. What makes it all the worse, though, is if you can now do Star Trek physics for doing things, in Star Wars Episode 7 didn't need to be pointed out how it could work in Star Wars physics. So why did they fix 7 to Star Wars physics and then 8 not? And then 9 not to anyone's physics, because 9 is just dumb. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. 7 was fun. What are they gonna mess up next, I wonder? Mandalorian. Well, they're gonna go into the after realm, and the entire family is gonna be in one big orgy. Because in 7, the issue was, so here are the issues as it goes and pertains to physics. I'm trying to not argue lore, just actual physics per the movies. Before we get into that, what is the basis of physics that I'm comparing between Star Trek and Star Wars? The basis of physics is what happens at relativistic speeds, i.e., the speed of light or faster. In Star Trek, you warp space around yourself to go at faster than the speed of light. With high enough technology, you can still detect what's going around you. You don't lose sensors at light speed. You can still teleport onto things at light speed. You can teleport off of things at light speed. You can communicate at light speed. You can do a great many things at light speed. All right. Sometimes they are admittedly a bit wishy-washy on how effective you can do things at light speed, but generally you can do things at light speed. Star Wars, you just can't. You really just can't in Star Wars. Why can't you? Because of the Alderaan scene. There are other things behind it. Again, I'm not going into this is what it says in the books. I'm trying to draw specifically from the movies. I'm not trying to pull super nerd McGillicuddy if you read the right book. This is what's in the movies for this argument. Even though the books make this a far better argument, I'm going to stick with just the movies just for this. They don't know what's happening when they go to warp. In Star Wars, they use exotic matter or some nonsense to essentially actually put them in a different dimension. Kind of almost like Warhammer 40K. And then they go somewhere. However, large planetary bodies and large amounts of gravity create a shadow, a warp shadow. Now that I'm stuck in Warhammer 40K terminology. And if you slam into something with that much mass, you can get damaged. You'll get damaged and broken up, and it won't be pretty. So all their warp things, it doesn't work. It gets too destabilized, and you get shunted out. This is summed up by 2 things. 1, you cannot detect out of this interdimensional travel in Star Wars. That's why when they got to Alderaan, they were like, what happened? Why is there a dust cloud here? Because Alderaan had been destroyed, and they couldn't detect anything while in light speed. That's why they didn't know what was going on. And that's why they thought maybe they were in the wrong location before they got grabbed. Number 2, the Empire has interdictor ships. They have ships whose whole purpose it is to generate a rather large shadow in the warp. Even though it's not the warp, that's just the name I'm going with now. That's the only one that keeps coming to my mind. A shadow in the warp to trigger the warp speed systems to not work. That's how you're not supposed to be able to escape them, because their interdictor ship says you can't. Just how it works. So, this is your difference. Star Trek physically moves, needs shields. They need deflectors and shields because they could literally go through anything, and they need stuff to protect them, and they need to detect what is going on at light speeds. Star Wars, they have deflectors, not really full-blown shields, and they have to go to hyperspace lanes because it's kind of possible for them to go through each other, but they need big gaps through the galaxy where they know there's no planets or anything. That's what it's calculating. They know there's no planets or anything. That's how they do it. They go to the space lanes. Why would you have space lanes if you had regular warp standards? You don't. So they need space lanes. Why does the Millennium Falcon? Why is the Millennium Falcon so good at being a smuggling ship? As they showed it in the movie, the Han Solo movie, it's because the Millennium Falcon has gone everywhere and mapped everything. because they had the one navigational robot download her brain into the ship. That's why the Millennium Falcon is supposed to be good, because the pilot does nothing in the Millennium Falcon. That's a separate argument, but who cares? It's because the ship has all the calculations for everything in the galaxy. So it actually has more paths it can travel. It knows the back roads. It can calculate those. That's how it works in Star Wars. Episode 7 happens. The Death Star planet shoots out 5 beams that separate, go across the freaking galaxy, and nuke 5 planets that are not by each other. And you can see the beams traveling from one of the planets. And it's like, oh, you should not be able to see that. How can you see these beams traveling? These planets aren't by each other. They're not moons to each other. So how does everyone see these beams traveling, and why do they look so slow? Well, the reason they came up with, and I accept this, is that what it was doing is it had found a way to fire in the secondary dimension, warping itself, so to speak, and that the beam was actually traveling at many times the speed of light, using the alternate dimension. However, because it was such raw energy, it was damaging the membrane or whatever between the 2 realms, the 2 dimensions, so you could kind of see the destruction behind the pressure wave of the beam. It looked slow because it was so far away. I will accept that. I will accept that this beam was probably taking out other planets in the meantime. Like anyone in the middle, collateral damage. The beam was going through warp space to hit a planet in 3-dimensional space. I will accept this. There's collateral damage they don't talk about, but I will accept this. That makes sense in Star Wars. In Star Trek, that cannot work, because you still need, because you're physically only warping it, you would need a warp field around the entire beam. Whereas in Star Wars, you just need to shunt the bad baby to the other realm and then hit the one planetary body you kind of really want to hit. If you set it up so it's strong enough to go through like little meteors and shit like that in the middle and ships, and then it's not strong enough and it interacts with that warp shadow nonsense that planets do, fantastic. I'll accept this 10 out of 10. Whoever came up with that idea, you did your research. You get an A+. Star Wars Episode 8, Captain Holdo, who by the way was a spy. She was 100% a spy and traitor the entire time. I refuse to believe her as anything but a spy. No, either that is the worst character in the history of Star Wars and Star Trek, or she was a fucking spy, because that does not make sense. But ignoring that, she points her ship at the enemy ships and goes to warp and slams into the ship. Slams into the ship at relativistic speeds enough to shrapnel it and damage the other ships and take out the whole fleet. Sex is wow, 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 wow. A+. Hey. Wanna know how Yoda fits in? Planets and a carrier empire ship. What was it at speed light in the Wars movie? So in 8, she warp speeds into the other fleet somehow, magically. And this is how the big win happens. This doesn't work. This doesn't even work in that movie. Before we bring in, because they kind of half address it in 9, in context of just 8, that physics does not work still. It doesn't even work in 8's physics. That just doesn't work. Because 1, or even, 8, the bombs don't make sense. For some reason, they went back to an old style of bombing, and they're like, oh, well, these bombers launch their bombs via magnetics. It's not gravity or anything like that. Why? Because I'm gonna go back in a second to torpedoes. I'm gonna go back to both their torpedoes. But build construction wall. Star Wars, because you don't physically travel at the speed of light, you just can't. If you could, in fact, travel at the speed of light, relativistically, inside the material realm, because let's steal from D&D terms now. In the material realm, if you could travel at the speed of light, why, when any of their ships were running out of fuel, did they not just turn around and warp into the oncoming fleet? And if you take out minor ships, at some point you're like, man, this ship's just, let's bring everyone onto less ships and take those ships, turn around and warp speed them into the oncoming fleet. Hit the ones in front, fracture the ones in the back. We're good to go, baby. Yes, they don't do that because they can't. That is why they don't do it. Because they can't. Hold on. Nope, I didn't want to mark that. I wanted to really get rid of that. There we go. So that already doesn't make sense. As a side thing for how physics works in the real world, everything in space is acceleration. There is no top speed in space. There's no such thing. There is no such thing as top speed in space. There isn't. You can even say, oh, well, top speed is the speed of light. No, you can't accelerate the speed of light. Things go the speed of light, and there's theorized particles that go faster than the speed of light. You cannot accelerate mass to the speed of light. That's neither here nor there. Everything in space is acceleration. If I increase my speed by 1.2 meters per second because of an engine, every second my speed is 1.2 faster. It just is. It's not a car. It's not a car on the road where if you let go, friction slows you down. There's nothing in space. There's no air. What? So for some reason, every single ship in episode 8 accelerates because there is a speed chase at the exact same rate. The small ships, the large ships, the little fucking person, the little transport ships, everyone accelerates at the same rate because there is no top speed in space. Which just as a side thing is fucking stupid. No, they don't. Every single one of those ships do not accelerate at the exact same rate. So what's happening there when all those other ships die off is they purposely didn't just leave. They could have peeled off and gone somewhere else and then warped away. But they didn't. They just, oh, we're running out of gas. Oh no. When they slowly fall back and die. So no, that's not how that works at all. Just that entire movie doesn't make sense. Just doesn't. That's not how it's not how acceleration in space works. But anyways, so they didn't shoot back earlier. They just, let their fuel run out and die like little bitches because they cannot shoot back. But Holo, for some reason, at the end does get to turn around and she gets to slam into it and shoot back. This immediately makes practically everything in the movie not make sense. Just basically everything in the movie just doesn't make sense from that point forward. And the reason why is because if you could travel at faster than the speed of light and hit things like ships, why don't you do it more often? They don't because they can't. And what I'm talking about at this point is torpedoes. Star Trek, who does, in the material realm, essentially, travel at the speed of light or close to it, they have photon torpedoes. Torpedoes that move like photons. They have little warp engines on them and they slam into the enemy ships. That's their big weapon. And then later on, they have the quantum torpedoes that when they hit the enemy, they also quantize their state in the realm so as to cause extra explosion damage because they meld, they phase through limited amounts of matter before explosion, thus giving them armor piercing capabilities. Kind of stupid, but just a side thing. They want to be the mighty ducks and stay with the flock. Yeah, well, now they're dead and they all deserved it. Star Wars uses proton torpedoes. They use torpedoes with regular engines on them. And when the thing impacts, protons and antiprotons hit each other and cause an antimatter reaction. That's how the torpedoes work. If you had torpedoes that go at the speed of light in Star Wars, you wouldn't need to do the Death Star trench run. You could be miles away and just fucking snipe the damn hole. Because they're not going to shoot you. The aerial guns work at things that are slower than relativistic. You think a gunner's gonna see something coming at him at the speed of light and shoot it out of the air? That shit ain't happening. Oh, but they have computers. They have computers doing the calculations. The computers could shoot it out. No, they couldn't. Those stupid turrets couldn't shoot out an X-Wing flying down a trench at really slow speeds without sending troopers to come out there. Oh, they had lighter guns. They didn't put the guns in there. Bigger guns track slower. It's all a question of physics. They don't. They have proton, not photon. One letter difference, one letter different spelling, world of difference in how they work. I'm getting worked up here. World of difference in how they worked. They don't have torpedoes that do that. An argument that was said about this was, oh, well, in this particular case, the reason why she did interact with him, remember, we haven't gotten to how 9 tried to address this. This is what the writers and shit said right after 8. The reason why this time it worked is because of the way the sensor worked. So what's supposedly happening through 8, which by the way makes 8 also still not make sense, is no one knows where you're going in warp space. Again, because you're not really in the physical realm. You're not just traveling at warp speed. You can't be detected like this is Star Wars. You are in the other realm, so you can't be detected. So how it works in Star Wars Episode 8, the sensor system, is it calculates how much power you're putting in to shunt yourself to the other realm, the exotic space, and it's calculating your direction, the amount of power you're putting out. So it's like, okay, they're going about this direction. So we'll just warp, we'll put in the same power in the same direction, we'll end up where they end up. That's how it's working. That was how the sensor was working. So what they were saying is, after Episode 8, they were saying, well, the sensor ship, the lead ship that has the fantastic sensor that does this, it does this by creating a presence in the, I'm forgetting the name of the realm right now. I keep wanting to say Warhammer 40K terms, in warp. It has a presence in warp space, and it uses that to calculate exactly where you're going and the amount of energy you're putting in. That's how they pull it off. Oh, okay. No. No, that's not it at all. Because if that were true, he's building it on the wrong side again. Hold on. No. This guy's gonna drive me bonkers. Build the wall from the right side. Fuck it. You stay out there, then I hope you die. I'll fix him in a second. I'll find some other way. Can I get him to the ground floor? I feel like this would be easier on the ground floor. No. No. That doesn't work at all. Why does that not work at all? Because that's what the interdictor ships do. If the implication is that this only works because in warp space, the sensor has to have a physical presence, and that meant at any point in time, anyone could have slammed into interdictor ships. Interdictor ships take way too much resources to make for them to now be vulnerable to anyone traveling at warp speed. So no, that doesn't work that way at all. Number 2, if it works that way by having a warp presence, just like the shadow caused by every planetary body, orbital bombardment would be the #1 thing people would do. If you could just take anything and slam it into a planet that easily, because it has a presence, you would just do that all the time. You wouldn't need the Death Star. You would just orbitally bombard it with super bombs. So no, you can't. That's not how the physics works. That's not how this works. It's not how any of this works. Because their implication was, well, it hit the thing that's physically there, which meant all that mass got transferred to the thing on the real ship, so then the ship exploded from that point on. Even though you can literally see the line all the way through the ship. Just saying. Build the wall. Build the ball. Throw rocks at planets. Rods from the gods. No need to build bombs. Yeah, exactly my point. Like, your entire explosion system would be pointless if that actually worked that way. Which it does not. Which it does not. Stop lying to me. So no, it didn't. So that entire thing was just wrong. It was just lies. Just lies. Then you get to 9, and 9 tries to retcon it. And 9's retcon is just awful. It's just awful. Here's what I want to do. D. That's the ramp to go up to here. If I get rid of this wall, then he'll be able to come up diagonally and I can rebuild that wall like normal. So then you get to 9, and 9 tries brushing it off. They even call it the holdo maneuver. And 9 says, oh, it's a 1 in a million chance. Couldn't be duped, because even at 9, one of the characters like, why don't we do that again? That seemed to work. And he goes, oh, that was a 1 in a million chance. So we're not going to do it again. It's called the holdo maneuver now. We're not going to be able to do that again. Okay. Also, I'm on action shot. I noticed. I've been trying to talk to you guys the whole time, and I realize I'm in action shot. Why did no one correct me? Not display capture. Camera in frame. I've been talking out of camera this entire time. That's not even the right one. No one told me I was talking to nothing. I don't know. One, if it's a 1 in a million chance, it was a fluke. It was an accident. It could not have happened. Couldn't be done again if we wanted to. All right, I'll believe it. I'll believe it. I'm not gonna argue that. I do, however, have a very good question. What the fuck was Holdo doing? You've now admitted that according to Star Wars physics, that can't happen. So you've pointed out, or you've stated it in such a way as what Holdo did was an accident. There's no way someone could do a ship at another ship and expect it to hit. That was a 1 in a million fluke, never gonna happen again. Then what, pray tell, was Holdo doing? She could not have thought her ship was going to hit the opposing ship. If you have reaffirmed in Star Wars physics as of episode 9 that that is not how physics works there, and no one knows what happened, so they can't duplicate it, pray tell, why did Holdo turn her ship around? Why did she turn her ship around? Why did she turn her ship around? She was not trying to hit that ship. That was an accident. If that was an accident, then she was doing one of two things. She was abandoning everyone, and they don't want to say she was abandoning people. After all, she's a take charge kind of person. She would never abandon people, or she was working for the Empire the whole time, and she was trying to leave to get out of the way. And she accidentally bungled it so bad, she shredded the entire fleet. Yeah, she was a spy trying to jump ship. She was a spy. If Nine wants to go with that, and I will accept it. I will actually accept that nobody actually knows what happens. That was some weird fucking spacing fluke, 1 in a million chance. I'll accept this. I will accept this for you. You have to admit Holdo was a spy. Holdo was either a spy or a coward. Because there's no way then that she intentionally hit that ship. Because that is, not only is it a 1 in a million chance, not only can you be like, oh, maybe she assumed she could. It's a 1 in a million chance. Maybe she's like, these sound like good odds. I'll try to kill myself to save them. It's not only supposedly a 1 in a million chance, but it's never been done before because they call it the Holdo maneuver. They didn't give it a different name. If it was something that had been seen before and people kind of knew what it was, and it happened to happen this time, then I'd say like she gambled and it won, and she'd be back to being on top as a #1 person for that movie. Fine and dandy. That was a pretty good sacrifice. That was a good move. Oh wait, what's this? It hasn't happened before? You're gonna call it the Holdo maneuver? Why are you naming a maneuver after someone who is clearly a fucking spy then? If it has never happened before and you're going to name it the Holdo maneuver, then that means that she did it on accident. She is a spy for the Empire. That is why she wasn't telling anybody what the plan was. It was because she wanted to drag out as long as possible so that everyone would die. And also makes sense why none of them turned around and went back into the oncoming fleet, because that's not a thing you can do, because that's not a thing anyone can do. And no one else wanted to turn around and run because they're not spies. They knew if they turn around, they'd get shot. What is TW not 2002? Star Wars? But yeah, no, she's just a spy. But then they weren't done screwing with physics. Trade wars, gotcha. She was trying to turn over to the next largest ship. Yeah, exactly. She was 100%. She was like, all right, I'm gonna be left behind. I don't want to die. If I just give them this ship with all the data on it, they'll spare me. I'll be a hero for the Empire. Yeah, no, she's a coward or a traitor or a spy, one of the three. But in 9, they're not, I don't know why, 9, this is 9, 1, 2, 9. In 9, they make the physics even worse. Because in 9, I'm forgetting the pilot's name. He is so good at being a pilot that he can now warp space jump from the surface of a planet. Both leaving and going to, you can warp space jump from the surface of a planet. No, the fuck you can't. No, the fuck you cannot. Without slamming into that planet at 90,000 miles per hour, no, the hell you cannot. If you can warp space jump to the surface of the planet, we're back to the original idea of why the fuck don't you just bomb planets? Why do you do the Death Star? If you can warp space jump to the surface of a planet without getting shredded, why do you not just bomb? Why don't you just bomb? Oh, you have to be a good pilot. What? No, you don't. No, you don't. If it's something that a pilot can do, it is something that a computer can do. Pilots are good for long-term, reactionary, adaptable situations. You are coming from a warp space that you cannot see out of and arriving at a planet. Either the computer is already doing the calculations for you, in which case, bomb them, or it's not, and you're just lucky. And they have him do it over and over and over again, so it's not luck. It's apparently a skill thing, but the computers do all the calculations for the faster than light travel, so it's a computer thing, so you can bomb. And there's two reasons why I say, no, fuck, you can't, or why don't you use these as bombs? Real world physics. Why can teleporters never exist? Ignoring the fact that they're just murder boxes, why could a teleporter not exist? Let's say right now, I, being in the American Northeast, wish to visit, say, the equator. I wanted to go somewhere in Africa or southern China, what have you. What if I was just here and then I went there and I was suddenly on the equator? I would immediately explode from something. I don't know what, but I would immediately explode because I'm on this part. This was a circle. I'll use this. If I'm on this part of a planet doing this, I'm traveling far less distance in the same time than someone on the equator in the middle traveling this. There's a difference in acceleration between the middle of a planet and being further up the planet. If I traveled from here, if I traveled from up here to there, if I went from here to there, the planet would be faster than me. So a building, a tree, or something would slam into me and I would just mosquito on a windshield explode. If I went from here to there, I would be traveling faster than the planet and I would grind along the ground for miles, like the world's worst sandpaper burn, until there was nothing left of me but constitute proteins. And I'm talking about doing that from planet to planet. He is in space. He is in space, traveling to a planet. You have to have a difference in calculations for where, without splatting, for where on the planet you're coming out of. Coming out, even if you could get it to where you are somehow guaranteed to show up a mile, half a mile above the planet, you have a difference of acceleration between the equator and the top of the planet that is great enough for you to just immediately shred yourself if you hit atmosphere. Because supposedly he's hitting it at the exact same acceleration as that part of the planet, because he has to be moving already with rotational forces to equal the atmosphere around him. The atmosphere has a different acceleration at the top of the planet as it does at the equator. You have to have the exact atmospheric rotations, or you're hitting the air like a concrete wall, or you are not moving and the air shreds you like it's sandpaper, because you're not moving but the air is. Either way, you explode. If somehow the computers are strong enough to figure out this rotational exit point from warping, which by the way, they've never done that before. And if they are that good at calculating, there'd be a lot more space travel points and a lot less space lanes if you're that good at having a computer. If the computer can calculate this, why don't you get bombs and warp them to right above the enemy and just bomb the shit out of them? There would be no AA guns. You could teleport / warp all bombs to like half a mile above what you're trying to hit and just bomb the shit out of them without hitting anything else. No chance for shields, no chance for ion cannons, no chance for AA guns. You just it's basically teleportation at that point. Just teleport a bomb above their ceiling every 5 seconds for the next 30 minutes. You're gonna get through eventually. You cannot possibly do this. Inertia, splash. That's why wizards can't do long distance jumps and they need to chain their teleports. You could surely teleport inertia. That's what I'm saying. No, that's not how this works. No, the fuck you can't. And if you could, why are there not more bombs? Why are there not more bombs? Fucking, it does not make sense. I don't know why they even bothered to correct the holdo thing and then called the holdo maneuver. Because you just proved that 8 was definitely wrong, should not have existed, and now everyone wants to know what the fuck holdo's doing. Then at 9, they can just teleport in and out of planets. Cool, that's what we do now. Can't even do that in Star Wars, mind you, or Star Trek. Star Trek doesn't just immediately do that. Not into. Leaving a planet I could buy. If you were in a planet and you warp out, that is completely fine as far as I'm aware. There will be a weird ripping noise effect behind you, but it doesn't bother your ship. So when he goes from planet to planet, I'm not arguing him leaving the planet, I'm arguing him entering the planet. Just want to make that clear. Half of this does work. If you're teleporting into space, then there's nothing there for you to slam into. Okay? I feel like there should be something involved there, but I myself don't know enough about it to get angry at it, so I'll let that pass. But teleporting onto a planet, no, that's not how that works at all. And then there's a whole bunch of physics things at the end of it with Emperor Palpatine, but really at that point you start getting into like more lore arguments, like how does the Force work? And you know what? I'm willing to believe somewhere in the extended universe they probably have rules or something that I don't know about that might explain how that works. So I'm not going to get into what happens with the chain lightning at the end of episode 9, even though that definitely 100% can't work. I just know that I probably don't know enough about it to be completely correct in why it can't work. I just know it can't. I think you would make the biggest Empire spy. Go tell what's his melty face. Entering the planet sounds so wrong. He surely didn't ask that planet's permission. He didn't. He did not ask that planet's permission. But then later on, they also have the weird thing where it's... They do have a warping weird situation. I'm going to ignore the lightning at the end, even though that was weird. I'm going to ignore the lightning at the end. What we have at the end, though, what we are graced with at the end is there is a fleet of ships that can't fly without another ship telling them how to fly. This is what the enemy ships are doing. Because you need a MacGuffin to tell you how to fly, and the good people get another MacGuffin, and that's how they get in. All right. This makes sense so far. Not really, but I'll accept this. You are not straining my, forgetting the term right now, suspension of disbelief. You're not straining my suspension of disbelief. It is strained. It is like strained, but it hasn't snapped. Willing to buy this so far. The good person has the MacGuffin and it tells them what to do. Using the MacGuffin, they fly through this asteroid field until they get to the surface of the planet. First of all, if you can warp from planet to planet, why can't you just warp through the asteroid field? Who cares about the asteroid field? Just warp through it. If you can already slam into the atmosphere, asteroid field means nothing. Asteroid field means nothing. And what are you worried about? What are you supposedly worried about? Just go through that thing. But no, while the good guy flies through it, doing the squiggly pattern, they leave their like emergency beacon on. So all the good people sit there and they see the path that the Ray takes. They see the path Ray takes and they go, oh, there's the path through the asteroid field. And she knew because of the MacGuffin. And now the good people know because she broadcasted it to the universe how to get through there. Okay. Why don't the enemy ships know how to get through this? Let's say for security reasons, Palpatine never released the information to anyone on any of his ships. He thought a spy might take it. I'll believe it. Once Rey goes through and charts the course for all the good guys by broadcasting it, why don't any of the bad guy ships know? From Rey. She just told them. She just told everyone. Because 90 billion ships show up randomly at the end, and they were all over the galaxy. They weren't just outside the asteroid field. So this hit the entire galaxy immediately. Why don't the evil ships know how to get out? Did they see her information and go, no, she's lying? Why do they need the other ship to be able to navigate? That doesn't make sense. She just told you what to do. It's not that hard. Secondary to that, when they take out the control system, why is it that some of the ships start falling? You don't need to be told where to go to turn an engine on. You don't need navigational systems to know where gravity is. If gravity can pull you down, you can just fire your engine to go against it. It's not that hard. Gravity makes you fall down. This is things that you can teach like little 4 or 5 year olds. What does gravity do? Make you fall down. What does gravity do? Make you fall down. Hey, ship, your navigational systems are off. What are you gonna do? I don't know what to do. Well, what do you think's happening? I don't know. You're falling down. Why is that happening? I don't know. Fire your engine in the opposite direction. For some reason, as soon as they can't navigate, the gravity takes over. Gravity makes them all forget that they wish to live and makes them all die. Because that just makes the perfect sense. Might accidentally holdo into an asteroid. Surely didn't ask that. We're talking about why they don't just cut a hole in the ship with a lightsaber and then just leave. Operating procedure, it's not smart, it's militaristic. And then secondary to that, one of the ships already left. Earlier in the movie, one of the ships already left. So why don't the other ships just leave? He has the entire fleet to take over the galaxy. Each of these ships has a Death Star beam on it somehow. It's been miniaturized to such a point that all the ships have a Death Star beam, and he just holds them. He just holds them in the weird planet, and he's like, no, you cannot leave. Can't leave until I die, and everyone suffers for it. And it's just like, why? Why do you hate your people so? I don't understand. All right, this is what I want to do. I want to connect this to that so water can drain no matter what. And I think because of pressure, the water will be able to build up from this. I want there to be a drain, but I don't want all the water to go away. So I think pressure will allow water to build up faster than it's draining. I know when to hold them. Yeah, like the like the EA, I don't know what EA Polo movie is. They aimed with a window. Oh, the Apollo movie. Yeah, it's really not that hard, but they act like all of a sudden they can't. They act like it's impossible, and it's like just go. Just go. It's really weird. Hold on. I think we're all out of the way down below, right? So they all just let themselves die. There's also a bunch of clones and other weird things that don't completely make sense. Not wholly important to go over them. Just they exist and they really shouldn't have existed. They make no sense. That one was a wall. But yeah, no. Somehow 9 argued against regular physics for the movie, but then also argued against the physics even set up by episode 8. So I don't think they know what's going on with their physics. I don't think they know at all. Give me a sec. Obsidian blocks? Do I not have any more obsidian blocks? Are you built out of obsidian blocks? Yeah, I guess I was exacto on that. Good. Follow Cyrillac for future reference. Also aliens. They also had serious gravity-induced brain damage where they just can't function when gravity exists. I guess not. It's really weird. And or at that case, just warp. Just warp anywhere. Just get out of there. Because apparently you can warp from a planet. We've set the precedent that you can warp from a planet. None of these Empire ships can just warp. Pick a random direction. You know you're going to die. You know you're going to die. Your ship is falling and you don't know what gravity is. So you know you're going to die. Just engage the warp thing. What's the worst that could happen? You die by hitting the planet. All right, that's on you. You got unlucky. You holdo a rebel ship. You die a hero, or you leave the entire thing and you don't die. I don't know why the Empire ships just crash and burn. It doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you doing? Go. I would literally be like some janitor. Like if I was on one of those ships just back like, go, just holding onto a thing. Turn on the engines, please, please go, and just slam into the wall. Disney forgot they're not Pixar and this wasn't a cartoon where physics are tertiary. Just wait till Disney gets their hands on DC. Serious crap. Yeah, no, oh my God. None of it made any sense. None of it made any sense. It's not like some of it could have easily been fixed. They just chose like the worst ways to describe or say things. That was really their issue. They could have just done it slightly different and it would have been like, all right, you're pushing it. You're pushing it, but that's believable. But no, they went with like the wrong answer every time. By the way, the stair system on the bottom is just so I can actually do it. Every level I did a 2-wide lip, whereas the stairs in the middle are supposed to be the permanent ones for later on. So that's just like the operational stairs until I get all the working ones going. But no, it's fucking stupid. I don't know how they got all their physics so backwards. All those are walls. I don't know how they got all their physics so backwards from their own lore. I know sometimes people, like if this is up on YouTube, there might be like a comment or something eventually being like, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. They don't have to follow. They don't. Yes, they do. They don't have to follow like regular physics. It's a movie. You're right. Especially Star Wars is a. It's not science fiction. It's science fantasy with Star Wars. So I'll give it to them. They're allowed more leeway with how they interpret their physics. However, they have to follow their physics. I cannot write a book series based upon the idea that everyone with green eyeballs are automatically evil Satanists, and then at the end of it be like, no, like evil Satanists with untold powers, and at the end of it be like, oh yeah, green eyeballs, they don't do anything. It'd be like, oh no, they all die by the age of 6 months. None of them ever grow up. Why was that even a plot point then? If it's just like they're just guaranteed to die in a few weeks, why is that a plot point? You can't have part of your physics, or like everyone with green eyes can fly, and then everyone with green eyes don't fly. You're not following your own physics. It doesn't make sense. You're not following your own lore. Probably shouldn't have gone with like the is evil route, because I know willing to bet someone's gonna find some freaking Antichrist movie, and it's gonna be the plot point that he wasn't the Antichrist, and they knew he was the Antichrist because the bread fell butter side down or some stupid nonsense. The Elevator was a dumb movie. Shouldn't have gone with evil. Evil isn't actually lore / physics, but whatever. I think you get my point. You have to. No. Are we putting the triangles in the Tower of Water Power? What triangles? I don't know, you're talking about for triangles. But I see we have hit our hour. So for those of you who are watching after the fact on the YouTube archives, which admittedly I'm like 3 weeks behind on uploading. Gotta get on that. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.